I mean, I think obviously if somebody comes from something that we all see, it allows people to get invested in that person. I think that's what's great about the show. And it's like you root for the person and they have a journey and they grow and they get better. I think that's interesting. I think that makes the artist more three-dimensional to the audience at home. And in these days, you know, artist development is kind of a dying art. It's not something that the record companies really spend a lot of time doing. So in a way, what American Idol does is it creates artist development, but for the audience at home watching the process.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. And I would argue with the sense that Idol is responsible for manufacturing pop stars. I mean, the manufactured pop thing has been going on since the 50s and since the 60s. I mean, there's always been stories of that in the music industry. I think that, if anything, I think that it shows these contestants chasing their dreams and going after it themselves as opposed to being molded and branded.
Yeah.
I think after the show ends, then there's some molding and branding that goes on, but it also has to do a lot with what that person brings to the table. And maybe if you're a contestant that goes through American Idol and you were lucky enough to be in the final positions and you're offered a record contract and you happen to maybe not really have a strong idea of what you want to do creatively, then maybe you are a case of them kind of going, okay, well, how about you do this?
Yeah.
But then there are those of us, myself included, that have our own ideas and that are able to work in a team with these people. And that's what I got to do, and I was really thankful for that. So I think there's a misconception maybe out there in the public that once you get through American Idol, you're like puppeted around. That's not been my experience for 1 second.
But you didn't win. Is there a difference between...
Chris isn't being puppeted around either.
Yeah.
I mean, we have very similar situations. He had a lot of input on his music that went on the album. He got to co-write some of it. He and I we're in a very similar situation. So I don't really understand where people get that from. I don't know what it is.
I think it's like in music criticism, it's popist versus rockist, and giving more credence, perhaps, to people who write all their own material and
the credibility,
and spend their time working, playing in like small dives and working their way up versus the Britney Spears of the world.
Right.
Me as a listener, the final result, the song, is what matters.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But I can kind of get where they're coming from. On the other hand, it seems to me like before like you were saying, the 50s, Frank Sinatra didn't write his own songs.
No, I mean, like the Four Seasons. I think the stories that they got like put together by like some mastermind. I mean, the boy band idea has like kind of been around for a long time. So, and I think what you're saying of the rock sensibility of people like having to pay their dues and playing. I think what's interesting about Idol is when they do these backstories, it shows all these contestants paying their dues in some way or another. Some professionally as entertainers, some as people that work at a convenience store, but. I feel like, for example, I paid my dues. I've been doing theater for the past 10 years. I had a band. I wrote music. I worked with producers and came up with demos and worked as a session singer. So, I don't know. I feel like I did go through that school, and I do have my own ideas.